Welcome. I am so glad you could join us for today's deep dive.
Really glad to be here.
I want you to start by just picturing yourself in your local grocery store.
Just a normal Tuesday grocery run.
Right. You are standing there right in the middle of an aisle staring at some product on the shelf.
We all do it.
We do. And I want you to ask yourself, how much thought do you actually put into the labels plastered all over the packaging?
Usually not much, if we were being honest.
Exactly. We see them every single day. The little badges, the seals of approval, the brightly colored stamps that supposedly tell us something about what is inside the box.
We rely on them, we trust them completely.
But how often do we stop and ask ourselves what those labels actually represent behind the scenes?
That is the big question.
It is. Because today we are exploring the fascinating and honestly incredibly complex intersection of our daily consumption and our deep-seated beliefs. Specifically, we are diving into the halal economy.
And I have to say, the scale of this topic is truly massive. It is not just food. It touches on so many different facets of modern life.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about global supply chains, international logistics, corporate overhead, and deeply personal identity. All of that converging on a single little stamp on a package.
And the source material we have in front of us today is this thought-provoking, really critical text. It examines a core, somewhat uncomfortable question.
It really is.
It asks, is the halal economy simply about practicing your religion in everyday life, or has it evolved over time into a highly lucrative, self-sustaining corporate business model?
Which is quite the pivot to consider.
Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the sheer scale of this market. We are going to look at the mechanical financial gears of how certification actually works.
And we're going to explore the fascinating economic and social questions our source raises about the creation of entirely parallel markets.
But before we jump in...
Before we get too deep into the weeds here, it is crucial to set a neutral, analytical baseline for our discussion.
Definitely.
The text we are analyzing today raises some very provocative questions. It touches heavily on economics, on the concept of self-segregation within a free market, and of course on religion.
Right.
So we want to assure you, listening right now, that as your guides through this material, we are absolutely not taking any political or religious sides.
None at all.
We are not here to endorse the viewpoints of the content. Rather, our job is to impartially unpack the fascinating arguments and the underlying economic dynamics that are presented by the author.
Just looking at the mechanics.
Strictly the mechanics of the economic arguments themselves.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let us start with the numbers, because they completely reframe how you look at the food industry.
The numbers are staggering.
When we talk about the halal economy, we are not talking about some tiny niche corner of a specialty market.
Not at all.
According to the data presented, this is a rapidly growing global market currently worth over 1.5 trillion US dollars. Trillion, with a T. And the trend is only pointing sharply upwards.
That $1.5 trillion figure really contextualizes everything we are about to discuss today.
It changes the whole conversation.
It does. A market of that size is a global economic force. It moves international markets. It dictates the architecture of supply chains.
So how did we get here?
Well, to understand that, we have to define our terms historically versus how they are applied today.
Right.
The word halal originally has a very straightforward meaning. It simply translates to permitted according to religious rules.
Permitted. Simple enough.
Exactly. Historically, this was a guideline for personal adherence. It was a way for an individual to navigate their daily life, their diet, their ethics, all in accordance with their faith.
But today, as the source points out, it has become much more than a personal religious adherence.
Much more.
It functions as a label, a seal of approval. It's a powerful market instrument now.
That's a brand.
Yeah, brand. So to make this abstract economic shift a bit easier to grasp, let's use an analogy.
Okay.
Is it kind of like a friend who bakes vegan cookies?
I like where this is going.
Let's say they bake incredible cookies, and they happen to use entirely plant-based ingredients.
Sure.
Factually, those cookies are completely vegan. They meet every single criteria.
Right. No animal products at all.
But if your friend wants to sell those cookies in a major supermarket chain and have them officially stocked in the designated vegan aisle, just being factually vegan isn't enough, is it?
No, usually not.
Don't they usually have to pay an external organization to audit their kitchen, review their ingredients, and grant them an official certified vegan stamp?
They absolutely do.
And without that paid stamp, The supermarket might not recognize it, and the specific consumer looking for that stamp might walk right past it.
They wouldn't even see it as an option.
So is the source arguing that a similar dynamic has taken over this market?
What's fascinating here is the sharp distinction drawn between factual suitability and formal certification.
Hmm.
Yes, that analogy hits the nail on the head.
Okay.
A product can factually meet all the necessary religious requirements.
The ingredients are fine.
Perfectly fine. The manufacturing process could be flawless.
Right.
But without the official paid certificate, it isn't formally recognized as halal within this modern economic system.
That is wild.
The factual reality of the product basically takes a backseat to the administrative label on the packaging.
So the label itself becomes the product.
The label becomes the product. And the text points out that we aren't just talking about meat or food anymore, which is where my mind immediately goes.
Right. Usually you think of the butcher counter.
Exactly. But the certification process has expanded into wildly unexpected territories.
Like what?
We're talking about certified cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and even logistics companies.
Wait, logistics companies? Like shipping trucks?
Yes. A logistics company might have to prove their trucks haven't transported non-compliant goods, or that their shipping containers are cleaned with specific approved chemicals just to get this stamp.
That is a massive, multi-layered audit process spanning the globe.
Consider the pharmaceutical angle for a moment. Think about a single ibuprofen capsule.
Just a standard painkiller.
Right. The certification body isn't just looking at the active medication. They are tracing the gelatin used in the capsule casing all the way back to its global source to ensure it is bovine-derived and processed correctly.
Wow.
They are auditing the lubricants used on the factory machinery that presses the pills.
The machine lubricants.
Yes. They are checking the alcohol content of the hand sanitizers used by the workers on the assembly line.
That is incredibly thorough.
Every single node in that incredibly complex global supply chain requires oversight, documentation, and ultimately a fee.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because following the money reveals the true architecture of this system.
It always comes down to the money.
It does. These certificates are absolutely not given away for free.
No, they are not.
Companies have to pay for the initial audits, they have to pay recurring licensing fees, they have to pay royalties to display the seal on their packaging.
It adds up fast.
The source introduces a central underlying tension here. It asks, at what exact point does this entire apparatus stop being purely about facilitating personal religion and start being a system fundamentally designed to generate corporate revenue?
And to answer that, let's look at the financial burden placed on a standard producer.
Okay.
The analysis highlights cases where a standard food manufacturer had to significantly increase their operational overhead just to navigate the licensing fees of multiple different regional boards.
Wait, so there isn't just one board?
No, because there isn't always just one universal standard. A company might have to pay one organization to be certified for sale in Europe, and a completely different organization with entirely different audit fees to be certified for export to Southeast Asia.
That is an incredibly lucrative administrative sector.
It is a massive industry in and of itself.
Which forces us to ask the uncomfortable question, who actually profits at the end of the day?
That is the core issue.
On one side, you have the everyday consumer. This is someone who is simply looking for security.
They want peace of mind in what they eat and buy.
Exactly. They just want to live their life according to their faith without having to chemically analyze every single item in their grocery cart.
They are paying for relief from anxiety.
But on the other side of that transaction, you have the administrative structures.
The organizations, the massive auditing firms, the licensing bodies that issue these certificates.
And they are making a lot of money.
They earn hundreds of millions of dollars collectively from this process.
So the overarching challenge presented by the text is determining if the administrative system is merely serving the consumer's needs.
Or if the consumer's need for security is being intentionally cultivated to serve the administrative system's bottom line.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. Imagine you, as the listener, are at the store right now reaching for a product. You are paying a premium price for it.
Sometimes a significant premium.
But that premium isn't necessarily going toward better quality ingredients or fairer wages for the farmers or a more sustainable manufacturing process.
You might be paying a 15 or 20% premium purely for the administrative seal of belonging.
You are funding the certification structure itself. You aren't just buying food. You are buying into a massive administrative ecosystem.
And that ecosystem has profound, tangible social implications.
How so?
It is not just about money changing hands between a corporation and an auditor. It is about how that money fundamentally alters human behavior at scale.
Right, because it changes how people shop.
The argument is that this modern commercial label creates very clear, rigid boundaries within the broader society. It effectively builds a visible fence within the marketplace.
And consumers navigating by this system purchase specifically and almost exclusively within that fence.
And you can see the direct consequence of this boundary playing out in the aisles.
Yeah, other comparable products are consciously excluded from these consumers' baskets.
Even if another product is cheaper.
Or better quality.
Or even factually permissible based on its ingredients, but just lacks the paid logo.
It gets left on the shelf. The consumer's choices are filtered entirely through the lens of the corporate certification.
This leads directly to what is described as the parallel market phenomenon.
This raises an important question, doesn't it?
This raises an important question, and it is perhaps the most striking sociological observation in the entire analysis.
Which is?
Usually in broad societal discussions, we talk about how minorities are marginalized or excluded by the majority.
The traditional dynamic of external exclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
For a second.
But this economic system demonstrates a completely different scenario. It shows a minority economically separating themselves from the inside out.
They are building, funding, and voluntarily participating in an enclosed economic loop.
A loop that is distinctly separate from the broader general market of their host country.
To ground that abstract concept, let's look at a practical example. Imagine two identical bottles of water sitting on a shelf.
Okay, 2 bottles of water.
Same source, same purification process, same plastic bottle. One has the paid certification stamp, one doesn't.
Simple enough?
In a normal free market, the invisible hand takes over. The cheaper one wins because the consumer prioritizes price and quality.
Right, basic economics.
But in a parallel market, the consumer will happily pay 20% more for the stamped water.
Because they are effectively funding an entirely separate supply chain that runs parallel to the normal one.
Completely insulated from standard price competition.
Inside that parallel market, the traditional motives for purchasing shift dramatically.
They have to.
In a standard free market model, consumer decisions are dictated by forces like quality, convenience, and primarily price.
But in this enclosed silo,
those traditional forces become secondary. The primary driver of the purchasing decision becomes what the original German text refers to as Zugehörigkeit.
Zugehörigkeit, meaning belonging or affiliation.
Belonging. You are buying the product because the label signifies that you belong to a specific group, and the product belongs to that group's approved ecosystem.
The premium you pay on that bottle of water isn't for hydration. It's the price of admission to the community. It's the cost of identity.
And once that desire for belonging is monetized, the economic rules of gravity change.
The certification bodies realize that their true product isn't auditing services.
Their true product is trust and community inclusion. By defining what is outside the boundary, they make the space inside the boundary infinitely more valuable.
The more they can expand the necessity of the label.
Moving from meat to water, to cosmetics, to logistics.
The more they expand their own lucrative parallel economy.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? We have a $1.5 trillion global market.
Massive.
We have highly paid administrative certifications acting as gatekeepers to the shelves.
Right.
We have consumers fundamentally altering their buying habits based on belonging rather than price, creating an entirely separate parallel market that filters out the majority of comparable goods.
It is a lot to take in.
How do we reconcile all of this tension?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to immediately introduce the anchor that grounds this entire discussion. The legal and moral right to religious freedom.
Absolutely.
This protects all of this activity. Every single person has the absolute fundamental right to live, to eat, and to consume according to their personal beliefs and convictions.
The text isn't disputing the right of the individual to seek out these products.
Or to align their purchasing power with their conscience.
The freedom of the individual is the absolute foundation here. Nobody is questioning a person's right to buy what they want.
But we are being pushed toward a tipping point.
Yeah.
We have to explore the final philosophical question the author poses. Where exactly does personal religious freedom end? And where does an independent, self-sustaining corporate and economic system begin?
When does a spiritual practice transform into a global corporate franchise?
The blurriness of that line is what requires such critical attention.
And the conclusion drawn from the analysis is quite definitive, isn't it?
It is. The halal economy, as it operates on a macroeconomic scale today, is not just religion anymore.
It is a market.
It is a highly optimized business. It is a massive, complex, multinational system that draws its lifeblood from personal faith, but simultaneously, and perhaps primarily, earns its massive revenue by commodifying that faith.
It leaves you wondering, when an economic system gets this big, this intricate, and this incredibly lucrative, who is actually holding the steering wheel?
Are pure beliefs still guiding the market?
Or is the market now packaging, certifying, and dictating the boundaries of those beliefs?
When billions of dollars are on the line, the incentive structures change entirely. An auditing firm has a financial imperative to find reasons why a new sector needs to be certified.
Right. 10 years ago, nobody thought about certifying the lubricants on a conveyor belt.
Today, it's a revenue stream. The market naturally seeks expansion. It seeks to convert the uncertified into the certified because every conversion is a new licensing fee.
It is the purest expression of capitalism wrapping itself in the cloak of spiritual necessity.
Well said.
Let's take a moment to look back at the ground we have covered today, because there is a tremendous amount to digest here.
We covered a lot of ground.
We started with the sheer monumental scale of this market, $1.5 trillion and rapidly growing.
We unpacked the realization that what was once a deeply personal standard of religious compliance has, in many ways, transformed into a paid administrative certification process.
Spanning everything from pharmaceuticals to cosmetics to global logistics.
We also explored the fascinating, perhaps troubling, economic phenomenon of a parallel market.
A space where the traditional rules of price and quality are overridden by a profound human desire for belonging.
A system where consumers voluntarily pay a premium to economically separate themselves, funding a parallel supply chain insulated from the broader market.
Once you see the machinery behind the label, you really can't unsee it. You realize that a trip to the grocery store is actually a navigation through competing invisible bureaucracies.
So why does this matter to you, the listener? Why spend time unpacking the mechanics of this specific economic ecosystem?
Why should they care?
Because understanding this dynamic gives you a completely new, highly critical lens through which to view the world around you.
It changes how you look at global markets.
It changes how you understand consumer habits, the psychology of purchasing, and the way identity is leveraged for profit.
Most directly, it changes how you look at the literal labels on the shelves of your local grocery store.
You start to see the complex corporate structures that are built entirely on top of human beliefs.
It makes you question every single seal of approval you see. What is the overhead cost of this little stamp, and who am I really paying when I buy it?
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. Something that takes the themes we've discussed and pushes them into our collective future.
I love these final thoughts.
If market forces can successfully package, certify, and monetize deep religious devotion into a $1.5 trillion exclusive parallel market,
Yeah.
what happens when other deep-seated personal beliefs become fully monetized in the exact same way?
Oh, wow.
Think about our ethical values, our environmental commitments, our political ideologies.
Right.
What if they all become subject to the same paid certification structures, the same exclusionary parallel markets, driven by the need for a seal of belonging?
Will our future grocery aisles and our future economy as a whole just become a perfect, highly monetized reflection of our divided, segmented identities? Wow. That is definitely something that will keep me thinking the next time I'm standing in the checkout line deciding which water bottle to buy.
It changes everything.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We love unpacking these complex ideas with you, and we encourage you to take this critical lens out into your own life. Keep questioning the systems operating just beneath the surface of the world around you.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.